I think the most important place to start is, Mega Basketball. Their jerseys continue to be incredible, and they are incredibly fun to watch and to look at on a screen. But okay, the first thing that I wrote with Topic is smooth operator. And I think that's a good place to start. I think that is what I see him as right now. I think offensively, we're going to get into all the nitty gritty. I think there's a lot to like. But then I also have some question marks too. So let me kind of pump the brakes there before we get too crazy. But I like him. I like him more than maybe I thought I would. But I also have some question marks.
Okay. I think that's fair enough. Before we get into the film, let's give a little background on our friend Nikola Topic. So, as you said, KK Mega point guard, listed at 6'5". I think he's got a long neck. You're the body guy.
Yeah.
Good posture, long neck guy. So he's averaging 19.5 points a game, 7 assists, 3.6 rebounds, 1.2 steals, 3.1 turnovers. So over a 2-to-1 assist turnover ratio. Scoring the ball really well. Shooting splits of 54.3, 35.9, 86. Pretty good. So that's a 65.4 true shooting, 59.8 effective field goal percentage. His draft stock based on the early big board / mocks that are out. No ceilings. He came in at 23rd on our top 60. The Athletic has him at 13. ESPN has him at 11. Bleacher Report has him at 9. That's an IPO stock price of 14 for Nikola Topic. So is that too high, too low, or is it just right?
For my taste, Corey, it's a little high, dude. And my tune might change. But at this point in time, I don't have Topic that high. I can tell you where I have him. I have him at 24. So 24, 14, there's a bit of a gap there, right? So if I were to say anything else, I'd be lying. I do think it's a little high for my taste. Once again, we're going to get into the eval and I'll ask my questions then. But of course, I get it. I get it. He's putting up big numbers. You watch the tape. He's a really interesting offensive player. I totally understand. But at the same time, Corey, he's listed at 6'5". I don't think he's 6'5". I think he's lying. Who knows what type of shenanigans they're pulling over there. They're lying. He's not 6'5". But anyway, it's a little bit rich for me. I feel more comfortable with him in the 20s right now. But hey, I've changed my mind before. I could change it again. So right now, I feel too high.
So regarding his height, I think there are times that he certainly, doesn't necessarily look 6'5". Like he doesn't look short by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah. But I remember when it was Nikola Jovic's draft. And I was talking to Mike Schmitz about Jovic, and he's like, what you have to realize about that league is that everybody is huge there. So, if it's a big league and, Topic might just look a little smaller than those guys proportionally, but he might actually be that legit, 6'5" or whatever. I've seen him listed at 6'6" even. Now, this is interesting, and I love when this happens when we're far apart on a prospect, because Albert, I fucking love this guy. I have him, I think, at 7 right now. I've moved him up to.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at that.
He definitely has his warts, and that is for sure. We'll definitely talk about those. But mostly just because I think that this class right now is very, Justin Edwards had a pretty rough game on a big stage. DJ Wagner had a rough game on the big stage. Because there's so much up in the air, and this dude's producing like crazy. He's big. He's got feel. I'm just in on him right now. So I think when you watch him, the first thing that you're kind of going to notice is twofold. You're either going to start with him as a playmaker, or you're going to start with him as a finisher. And I kind of think his finishing kind of opens up the playmaking, because his ability to get into the paint consistently and draw the defense and collapse the defense allows so many, of his passing angles. He's also got great vision, which we'll show later. But I want to start with his finishing, just because for a guy who weirdly looks stiff, he's kind of bendy. Like he's got some bend. He's like, but he plays with different pace. He's got start stop. And when he's running a pick and roll, man, like, freezes. And now right there, he's unimpeded with the little soft finger roll. But when he freezes guys, man, and he's getting downhill, like he's quick. He's got a quick first step. He's got some stuff to him.
Over the course of our history of doing this podcast, we've had moments like this where we start off being on different ends of a player, but a lot of times we end up somewhere in the middle, Corey. And I already feel us kind of meeting in the middle a little bit because you decided to start with his finishing, and that was a part of his game that I was actually really impressed with. All the pick and roll stuff, obviously, is really fun with him. But okay, let me get into what I wanted to say. His left hand is awesome. It's really, really good. He's a guy that is completely unafraid of contact, which I really, really enjoyed. He's a guy that he's not, primed Wade and Wade and trying to go through the chest of everybody, but he's not afraid to go in there and to mix it up with the trees. As you mentioned, incredible at changing pace. He also can rip an in and out move so nice with both hands, which is really, really fun and interesting and adds like that nice little wrinkle to his game. This was one of my favorite moves actually that he pulled right here, that quick little crossover that just to get into the lane and to leave the guy just in his dust. The one flaw that I had, I thought his touch at the rim kind of it was not as perfect as I thought it was going to be, which there it is, right? My expectations for him were pretty high. Some of the floaters I thought were kind of bricky, was what I wanted to say.
That is a weakness, the in-between game.
Correct. Some of the in-between stuff I think needs to work. But when he's like getting all the way to the basket, the variance and the versatility he has in ways that he can finish either through or around contact, really goddamn impressive. And once again, I just want to say one more time, he's got a really goddamn good left hand. And that stuff is important to me, especially for when we're talking about like a 6'5" guard like this.
I mean, this is a good example of him using his left hand and finishing through contact because he does the little same hand, same foot finish there, dips his shoulder in, creates the space.
These are tough guys too, Corey.
He's finishing 71.1% at the rim in the half court. Not even because he's getting out in transition. 71.1% in the half court. That is bonkers.
I think he's in my top 5 now.
Yes.
What? That's freaking nuts. But it's on the tape. It's there, Corey.
Yeah. No doubt about it. And like, all right, so he's so like that step through right at the end. Right at the he's so good at understanding where he is on the court and understanding where everybody else is on the court. So like he's so good at like slithering through tight spaces. That step through, if he doesn't step through in the right spot, he's gonna like twist his ankle because both of the defenders are almost like have their feet like interlocked in the paint, and he like steps over and through after this turn here. And then goes up and finishes with his left hand. He's just so good at little stuff like that. And that's why he's finishing pretty much every single thing that he takes to the rim. Like he's good at finishing through contact. He's good at manipulating the pick and roll. He's like, he loves to reject stuff. Right. And it doesn't really matter what he does. When he gets into the paint, like, I'm going to move you. Like, look at that's a big dude.
Yeah.
And he dipped that left shoulder in and moved him in the mask.
Corey, I have the comp for Nikola Topic. Whoever ends up writing about him for our website, they have to mention his name. I'm telling you, it's the perfect 1-for-1. Le'Veon Bell is my guy because for maybe
only you.
No, for real though, with Le'Veon Bell, the way that Le'Veon would time things, he'd get skinny, the way that he could burst, but also wasn't the fastest guy, the way that he could manipulate defenders to get to where he needed to go to, that's Nikola Topic, man. Like that, the one where you showed, right? That little step through at the end. Think about how quick he needs to be about making that decision to get skinny in between those two defenders there. That's really, really special stuff. And then once again, he's totally, completely unafraid of contact. He embraces it even. And that clip before where he went straight through the chest of that other guy. And this is a big guy he's going up against too. Like, yeah, dude, Le'Veon Bell. Whoever's writing about Topic, Le'Veon Bell, trust.
I think it might be you at some point.
Yeah, maybe.
But you know what? It oddly makes sense, right? Because he kind of, when he's got that forward downhill momentum, like he's so smooth that it kind of looks like a running back, like trying to find seams. Like right here, he's snaking. And you know what he's so good at? That's really crafty. He's really good at using the Gortat screens that these guys set like right near the basket. So like, you know, coming off, he's gonna snake, and then the little Gortat thing, and he's got the extension finishes at the, like, I don't know, nobody could stop him from getting to wherever he wants on the court, man.
Yeah, no, Corey, I'm with you, and it's important. Like, he's not the biggest athlete, right? He's not this, you know, crazy athletic dude, but this is the type of IQ stuff, pace stuff, savvy. This is the type of stuff that Corey, like, I'm, you know, both of us were well into our 30s, but, you know, if we were talking to like young hoopers today, it'd be like, watch this guy, dude. He's not running through people. He's not running past people, but actually he kind of is, because, you know, he knows how to use his speed strategically, right? It's not just one speed straight line. He can twist and snake and do all different kinds of things.
He gets so low to the ground a lot of times when he's changing directions, or
so good.
Yeah, he's so a beast getting to the rim. Now, if he had an in-between game,
yep, there it is.
Then we'd really be cooking with gas. So here, this is, I actually, when I watched this possession for the first time, I was like, oh, I love what's happening here, because, you know, he's running the pick and roll, showing a little bit of the handle, getting the guy in jail. But it's just that little floater touch. It's just off, man. Like, and he's so good at getting to the rim. He hasn't really attempted a lot of floaters, you know? So like there's also variance there. Like maybe it ultimately like kind of gets better. But right now it's just not a big part of his game. And I think it's something he should be working on, because, you know, if you're going to be a guy who's mainly getting to the rim, it's going to be a lot harder to consistently do that at the NBA level when defenses figure you out and have the scout on you. So, but the dude gets to the rim.
Yeah, Corey, I think, you know, that in-between stuff is definitely what's probably keeping him out of like the very, very top of this class right now. But I think what you said is important, right? Small sample size. Right? Maybe it's something that he continues to do throughout that season out there. And also an encouraging thing is like the shooting numbers are good with him, right? So it's not that we don't think he has touch. We know he has touch. He's shooting it really well. That true shooting percentage is great. The free throw line, he's shooting 86% from the free throw line. So he's clearly a shooter with good touch. So I think with more time and more work and practice at this type of stuff, I think he'll only get better. So I'm with you. It was the biggest word that I had for him on the offense side of the ball. And that's not even like, we haven't even talked about his passing stuff, you know?
No. But before we get into the passing stuff, actually, you know what? I think the passing stuff makes sense to do now, just because, you know, like when you can get into the paint, like he can, you can run a pick and roll and hopefully make some passes. There's going to be some options there, because the defense is absolutely going to collapse on you, right? So, and I mean, that's what happens so often. And what I like about him as a passer is, like, I think he's very creative. I think he's awesome in pick and rolls. Like, I think that he runs such a good pick and roll, but he passes like out of live dribbles, and the way he passes out of live dribbles too is really impressive, because he passes when the ball is coming up from the dribble and it barely touches his hand there. Yeah. Left hand, live dribble from the perimeter, man. Like Stephon Marbury, you know, like New York City hooper shit here. But literally, like, it happens so quick and it's so hard to guard, because it's underhand, because he's picking it up from the dribble. And like, and he does that a couple of times that I've seen him do that. So this is something that he's super, super comfortable with. Like, that was the left hand. absolutely sick. Probably one of the, most sneaky, sick passes you're going to see. And then this one, he's hitting his roller out of the live dribble in a very similar fashion. Maybe not as from the top of the key, but out of that live dribble, right hand hits the roller. And he had such good chemistry with his bigs. If those guys are rolling, he's gonna hit them.
Yeah. Also, we have to note that's a really hilarious goaltending right there. that's just out of spite right there. But no, Corey, I'm with you. The passing with him, the offhand whip pass is just unbelievable. He can make really high level reads. He sees the floor really well. The timing, the touch, the weak side stuff, all that stuff is awesome. And as you mentioned, like oh God, look at that one, dude. Just perfect.
Over the
Only
top.
the big can catch that. Yeah.
Simple.
But the pick and roll stuff, just the timing, the pace, the patience, the everything, man, the physicality. I hate this, man. I've had him lower, and now I feel it inside of me, him just flying up my draft board right now. But no, Corey, the passing with him is really impressive. And I think it's important to note that once again, like the thing that I really liked about him was just like the pace that he plays with. And it goes with the way that he attacks the rim, but also the way that he runs his offense and he runs a pick and roll, and all that stuff is really important, as if he's going to be projected as an eventual like number one option, kind of running your offense type of guy. That stuff is really important, and I think he has it in him.
Yeah, I'd let him run the Chicago Bulls offense right now. But I loved this possession too. Because we all love like guys who can paint the corners, and obviously he can do that. But this is such a crafty pass. There's so much nuance, and it's the lost art of that you don't see the American-born prospects always do, where right here he is selling that pass to the roll man. Like he is looking at the big, he's got that ball, like he is about to fire that thing right to the big. And so the tagger, the low man right now,
he's in jail. He's
under the rim in the paint, he has to commit, right, and step out to tag that big just in case the pass goes through. And it's just one step out of position now. So when he does make that corner pass, he's just too late.
That low man is in hell, dude.
Yeah.
Like that's classic, like Aaron Rodgers looking off the safety and just finding that, beating the cover two perfectly. Like it's unbelievable stuff what Topic can do, man. Like that's a really high level pass. Like we talk about high level reads. That's a high level read. And it's not just because he hit the weak side. It's the way that he manipulated things with his eyes, right?
Yep.
That initial look plus pump is really great. And then this one, God, what are we talking about? Can we watch this one again?
Yeah, of course. And this is kind of where you see like, oh, maybe, he's got the height to kind of see over. So, he draws two, and it's the positioning there on the pass. Like,
but Corey, even the big on this one, look, it looks like he's gonna just settle in the short roll, and then he makes like a secondary cut off of this. Like he's like, oh, I'm right here. Whoop.
And he leads him forward with the momentum so he can get to the rim too. He, like he's not throwing it to him, he's throwing it in front.
Good God.
It is like, it's like some quarterback shit.
But that's a nice little, I really like that little cut from the big too, though.
Yeah, they're the bigs. I like the bigs, man. Plavicic, I have no idea how to say these guys' names.
But, Yankovic, right? I think one of them. Yeah.
There's another Jovic.
Yeah.
But the bigs do a really good job of, getting into the right positions. Here's another beautiful pass, weak side hit. Like he's got all of those advanced reads in his bag. So he's going to bring the ball up the court, push the pace a little bit. Maybe, you know who he looks like?
Who?
You know who he moves like? I can't believe, like, some people are going to be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Other people are probably going to think I'm just straight up blasphemous. He's like modern Bob Cousy. Dude, like he looks like if this was in black and white, you'd be like, oh yeah, this was filmed in like the 1950s.
I could see that, dude.
Because he's like upright and
he's so upright. That's why, yeah.
He like it's like he's one of those dudes that JJ Redick would go on a rant with. Like he could barely, he's barely dribble, but like
you could even see him like dribbling down on one knee with the Harlem
right.
Globetrotters. No, I see it though. I see it, but look at that pass. This is unreal, man. Screen, rescreen,
come back. Yep.
Boom. Where are you going? Weak side
Mid-air.
Good God.
I love. He's got the jump pass too.
Pinpoint leads him to the corner more, right?
Mm-hmm.
Come on, dog. Look at this.
And he gets so deep into the paint with his drives that like he's able to do the drop offs and like those like straight up kickouts from the paint area. So here, all right, let's turn the back a little bit. Comfortable with the left hand. Let's get the ball back. Come off the screen behind the back. Whoop, take that wide angle. Whoop.
Oh, God. That first
little drop off
in little Spain, right?
Well, I mean,
oh God, look
yep.
at
There's the Spain action, and then a little drop off.
Oh my God, good job.
He's sick, man. We
didn't even talk about his outside shooting, Corey.
No, we're going to do that right now.
Oh God, Jesus Christ.
So his shooting is weird to me. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously he's got touch. He's shooting 36% from the 3-point line. All right, 86% from the free throw line, and then 36% from the 3-point line. So like, there's obviously stuff there. Here, I think it looks good up top. I think his base is a little wonky. Mm-hmm. And I think that is kind of like when I look at him as a shooter, it's like his shot prep is what's bad. Like I'm not worried about him necessarily as a shooter, but I also am not like this dude could shoot. Like he's a shot maker to me, not a shooter.
I kind of like that one. I thought off the catch, sometimes his dip was kind of too much. And I'm with you on the base. I liked his shot better off the catch than off the dribble, but then also sometimes off the dribble, it looked really good too. But Corey, I think the point that you're making is really important. He may not be a dead eye shooter, but he's going to hit enough of them. Kind of like Brandon Roy in that way, where Brandon Roy may not have been Reggie Miller as a shooter, but he's going to hit a shit ton of them. Not to say I'm comparing Topic to Brandon Roy.
Well, I just compared him to Bob Cousy, so
we're doing things today, man. We're on a sick one.
So here's my thing with his shot.
Yeah,
I think his shot prep is really bad.
Okay,
I think he's got that upright body, and I think he's kind of like his catch and shoot stuff is kind of like pencil like. So like when you're shooting, right, he doesn't have like that fighting stance that you want to be in, so you're balanced. Yeah. And he's never like stepping or hopping into his shot. So like let's get real nerdy here. His like kinematic or kinetic chain, right, is there's just nothing coming from his lower body most of the time, or a lot of the times on these spot up shots, because he's standing upright. There's very little bend, and there's no momentum to carry from his legs up through his upper body. So like the chain is broken right away. So I think that like he needs reps working with like, Chip England, and like all of a sudden this dude is like, oh, he's shooting 38% from 3, like in the NBA on high volume. Like it's doable. I think his upper body is okay. Sometimes he does like the flick, the snake bite on the release. It almost in a lot of ways, it reminds me of like what Şengün's shot looked like in Turkey. Like where he would kind of flick the ball a little bit sometimes. But I'm not out on him as a shooter. Obviously, like I have him inside of my top 10. Like, I think that he's a guy who is like very willing to be like, all right, well, you want to go under? Like, okay, I'm going to pull it.
But like, also
knock it down.
Yeah, and also Corey, I did want to say, like, he also shoots it from really deep.
Yes,
like he makes it a point to like shoot from the fucking. He shoots it really, really deep, which I like.
What's not to like about NBA range?
Exactly. It's going to be a big part of his game, but I'm with you, man. Like but also like the numbers are good, right? Like you mentioned, 36% is still good. And it may not be perfect now, but depending on where he ends up, it might get really, really good. And then we're talking about an all-star, to be honest, maybe, right? Like if he is going to shoot it that consistently from outside and just is, perpetually going to be walking into the rim, making high-level reads for himself and for his teammates, we're talking about a really dynamic, scary offensive player. And also like unselfish too, which we mentioned in the previous segment. But no, the jumper I like, don't love, like, I think is fair.
Yeah, I'm agnostic towards his jumper, I guess is how I would put it. Like I could see both options being on the table, but ultimately, like I think it's enough of a threat that like it's not going to prevent him from getting to where he wants on the floor.
I don't know. In my head, I was like Jehovah's Witness. I don't know what's going on, but okay. I like the shot. I like the shot. We got to talk about his defense, though. We do.
Yeah. It's time.
It's time. This is Corey. You know what? We've done this so long now. We just know. Like, when I'm into something or not into something, and I know when you're into something or not. And the way that you just led into that, we're there. We're on the same page here.
Yeah. So like, we talk about him being upright. I think this is where it hurts him. It's on this side of the floor. Now, like this possession here, I want to start with a possession in which somebody drills a shot over him, but also it's like, pretty good. Like not bad. Like he's in front of the guy. He's low. I think he plays with effort, but like he doesn't play with physicality. He's never really dictating. He doesn't like really cause a lot of like turnovers or generate a lot of turnovers. Right. Like, and I think, probably carrying so much of the load. He's probably using the defensive side of the ball to rest a little bit. And again, this is like, okay, possession, like good shot, like, do it again. But there are a lot of possessions where you're just like, yeah.
So Corey, the first thing, the first thing I wrote is I saw a lot of walking, man. And like, I was just like, hey, let's do less walking here. There were a lot of possessions where he was just kind of walking around. But Corey, when he is locked in, he can be pretty decent. And I do want to give him that credit. Like he can be kind of a bit like pesty sometimes with his defense. But another thing I wrote here, there are a couple times I got him caught. He was caught ball watching. Did not love that. I thought that like my main takeaway is he will not be known for his defense.
I think that's a really nice way to talk about a prospect who can't play defense. He will not be known for his defense.
It's just, you're not going to be like Nikola Topic, headline, great defense. It's just not going to happen, dude. It's just not there for him. But like at the same time, like he did have his moments, but overall,
right here,
like a lot.
This was the moment.
Just put this on a loop and we can deceive the masses. But no, for sure. Like, once again, like I thought the focus kind of came and went, but the main point that you made that I really agree with is I do feel like he is carrying such a load offensively that defensively sometimes it's like when you have a really long day and you come home and you just kind of zone out looking at your cat. Like it's one of those, man. Like you're just staring at your cat for no reason at all, just because you need a mental break. Sometimes that's what it felt like with Topic on the defensive side of the ball. And I think, Corey, that point that you made is a really important one, because if you just put his defense in a vacuum, it could lead to you going, what the fuck? But if you kind of look at it holistically and you put all the pieces together, it kind of makes sense too. So I wanted to kill him for his defense, but
look, I also think getting stronger, because he's super young.
Yes.
Like he's one of the youngest players in the draft. So I also think getting stronger is going to help him, because like my dude dies on screens, man. Like,
yes.
Like he gets buried by screens. So, you know, a combination of like, he's maybe not the most fleet of foot, you know, on the defensive side of the ball. He doesn't have the greatest length. And also, like, you know, he's playing in this pro league getting screened to death by giant, you know, Russian dudes or, you know, wherever, Serbian dudes.
Stone men.
You know, like, that doesn't seem fun from that side. But like, he's tough, right? And it's weird because he's so willing to handle the physicality offensively when he's got momentum and going into guys. So it's not like he's soft or anything, right? Like, I think it's when he's surprised rather than like generating the force, like he kind of will die on it because he's not like ready for the physicality yet.
Also, very simplistically, Corey, like on the offensive side, you get points for that. On defense, not so much. But no, I'm with you, man. Like that's something I had in my notes. Like absolutely gets demolished consistently on screens, and then like he comes off of them as if he has CTE sometimes. Like he just has no idea where he's going after the screens. So yeah, a lot of work to be done. Won't be known for his defense. It's a fair evaluation.
Nikola Topic. Le'Veon Bell, and not known for his defense.
Take that in the first round. Good.
Now, here's another thing that I'm going to say out loud. Mm-hmm. So, what is the big difference then in like looking at him as a prospect between him and Collier?
Oh,
like what's the sell for Collier over him? And I have them right in the same tier. What would be the sell to have Collier over him? Kind of with the understanding that Topic is a much better decision maker, equally as big of a threat downhill, and I probably buy the shot more. Now, I think we could say that Collier's defensive potential is probably higher.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, I gotta think that they're like worst case in the same tier right now.
Corey,
because they're very similar offensively.
Yeah.
As far as strengths.
The reason why, Corey, this question is hard is because something I've been thinking about recently, or like with my own evals, is sometimes I weigh the defense too much, where I can have two prospects that are similar skill-wise on the offense side of the ball, but I give one prospect too much credit because they're better on defense. And I don't want to make that mistake here between Collier and Topic, where clearly Collier is going to have a higher ceiling on the defense side of the ball. But we just kind of fell all over ourselves talking about Topic's offensive game. And offense is very important in the NBA. And him being able to be a lead guard, get to wherever he wants on the floor and shoot it from outside with high level, almost elite level playmaking type of stuff in the pick and roll, which is, a very, very common set in the NBA. I think you're asking a really good question, dude. I initially thought you were going to bring up someone like DJ Wagner or something, but I think Collier is the better name here because he's that freaking good.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm not going to bring up DJ Wagner because I just
same.
They're even in the same conversation.
Yeah, agreed.
I don't relish the fact that DJ Wagner is struggling. It's just I don't think anybody who has seen him over the last year in any of these settings is really surprised. I know that there was good feedback or whatever about him, like in practices and scrimmages and stuff. And like, I think that's great that he's a competitive kid and, he's got a good frame and he's, quick and all that. But like the NBA is about a bucket and my dude likes to shoot, but doesn't do it efficiently. Like you got to be an efficient bucket now. Like my dude, Cam Thomas, is an efficient bucket, and this dude's, will be in and out of the lineup, and he's doing it efficiently. DJ Wagner's got to be more of a point guard, man. Like he's got to be a pass first point guard. And I don't know if he's wired like that. I just don't. Short guards have it rough.
I mean, his dad wasn't either, right?
Yeah.
Not to blame his dad, but kind of runs in the family is what it seems like. So I'm with you on that. Also, I don't love his frame. Like I like that he's added muscle and stuff like that, but he seems kind of short to me, like with his limbs. His arms look kind of short
Mhm.
to me. Just not a big fan. But no, Corey, I think the point that you made about Topic and Collier is a really interesting one. And after we've just had like a 30+ minute conversation about his game, obviously he's going to be a lot higher on my board than where I have him now, which is the fun part of these evals, man. Like sometimes we just figure it out.
Yeah, sometimes we talk it out and
Yeah.
discuss it. Yeah, and with the Collier thing, like I'm not even saying like that Topic is the better prospect
Hmm.
necessarily. I'm just like I think it's an interesting parallel between the two guys because I think stylistically they share a lot of similarities,
Yeah.
even if you wouldn't think so because typically we compare white dudes to other white dudes, right? Like, um, but yeah, man, I don't know. I like Topic a lot. I think he's a lot of fun. I think that he's, uh, got a really good chance to at least go in the lottery right now, and I really think he can climb if some of these freshmen continue to struggle.